All right, I think we are starting. All right, all you freedom-loving boys and girls, whoever you are, wherever you are, welcome to Centerline Systems. Hey, I'm not sure how long this video is going to go. Hopefully not more than 10 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it short, say it all the time, then I keep rambling. But we're going to talk about the medical deployment pouch that we make for Black Scout Survival. We're going to bring that over to our side. And the purpose of the video is to explain what you get over on Jack's site at Black Scout and then what you'll be able to get on our side. But before I begin, as I've kind of mentioned, I owe Steve L a huge apology because we kind of stopped doing it at the end of last year, whatever. But okay, that was behind us. Now it's the new year. And so I got to start off the video. I'm going to do a couple Steve L jokes every video. So I'm going to do one at the beginning and one at the end. So no matter where you are, you get tormented. Here we go. We're starting off. We're going to talk about the medical deployment pouch, but first we're going to do some jokes. Steve L. God bless you, sir. My girlfriend dumped me, so I stole her wheelchair. Guess who came crawling back? Oh, so bad, Dad. What a bad dad joke. All right, and I'm going to save the last one for the end, and it's just as bad. Oh, my gosh. All right, here we go. Medical deployment pouch. So I got a couple of them right here. These are all mine. Okay, so this is, here, I'll just start off right here. So that's Nemesis. And, I'm still working on the lighting. I don't have the upper lights on. I got that. So I don't know. I could do backdrop. And so anyway, hopefully this stuff will show up. But so this is the medical deployment pouch in Nemesis camo. All right. That's mine. And that'll come up a little bit later. But here I got a couple. These are my loaded ones, my go and then my hunting kit. So the medical deployment pouch. So right now we make these for, Jack and I don't even know how long ago it was. It was years ago. He reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I want to make a medical kit." And I'm like, hell yeah. Because, and I guess I didn't do this justice. I should have brought some of my old pouches from when I was downrange. And because we didn't have medics, you were your own medic. And I'll get into a little bit of that as the video continues or as I keep going in the video. But the moment he said that, I'm like, oh, yes, because here's some of the things I wanted to do with a med kit. And then this is, and based on that conversation with Jack like 7 years ago, we came up with this bad boy. It's definitely been duplicated by people who are claiming, oh, no, I never knew anything about it. Whatever, Maybe I should start adopting the imitation is flattery. I don't know. We'll see how 26 goes. But I'm going to get into it. I'm not going to do a load-up video, but I'm just going to really focus on what you're going to get if you get it from Black Scout, what you're going to get if you get it from me, and then the importance of medical. Because I already know right now somebody's like, this isn't cool guy enough of a video for me. Man, all that door kicking and all that CQB and all your up-down drills all day long, awesome. But if you don't know medical, then, what good are you? You're no good to yourself, and you're definitely no good to your team. And your family is your team, right? And your team is your family. So here's what you're going to get. So it's still over on Black Scout Survival, and it'll always stay over there. But on my side, Centerline Systems, and I'm going to have to do some work this weekend because you can go to there's tabs across the top, and one of the tabs is BSS, Bravo Sierra Sierra, short for Black Scout Survival, and you can see the products that we make for him. I don't know if I'll bring it. I probably will bring it over to my side, the Centerline side, and just still have it advertised on his side with the link, because what the real difference is on my side, it's just going to be just the pouch, right? No add-ons, and I'll get into that in a second. But it's going to be for those who want to customize it. Jack is going to go, and he's always gone with some really kind of standard colorways, and he's going to stick doing that. So on my side, though, you'll go into the production list in line, just like a normal order, but you can customize it. So if you want, this color Velcro or this color thread, now this is always going to be red, and I'll show you another component, but maybe you want this elastic where your tourniquet goes, your TQ. Maybe you want that a little differently. Maybe you want the webbing a little differently. This black section here, that's, again, if you haven't seen some of the videos, go back on my side or his side. You'll see we've demonstrated these a million times. but that will still be the same. The red will be the same, but he only goes with certain colorways. So again, thread, Velcro, snaps, webbing. This is Nemesis. I'm creating slowly but surely. I'm getting my own kit completely set up for me in Nemesis. This is my med kit that's going to be on my hunting rig. Knock on wood for this year, and because I'm going to be doing Nemesis. Now on Jack's side, what I really like about what Jack's doing, so it's a hit or miss, right? Or it's a pro and con. You do you. If you want to get it customized, again, I'll be working on it. I'll have that set up hopefully by the end of the weekend. It should be available to order on my side, Centerline Systems, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week at the latest on CLS gear. On Jack, you can get it on Jack Black Scout Survival. You can get it right now. But Jack, and I don't have it anymore because we gave it away like a year or 2 years ago. Jack also does business with 2 other medical companies. I'm going to talk about those in detail in a second. But one of the companies is North American Rescue, and they do these medical inserts. So for those of you who are looking for, I don't want to call it a cookie cutter, but that's the word that comes to my brain. If you want something that has the majority of what you think are your must-haves, North American Rescue, which is a very reputable company. I've used a bunch of their stuff downrange. North American Rescue is a good company. They make an insert. Jack does a deal with them, and that's available on his side. So again, basic color patterns, the medical inserts, shears, TQs. He sells all that stuff on his side. So if you're looking for the one-stop shopping and, shipping, the next day, 2 days later, whatever his shipping thing is, that would be over on the Black Scout side. Now, on the Centerline Systems, it's going to be more for the colorways he doesn't carry. Nemesis, for example, got to get him. Come on, Clint. We got to get Jack carrying Nemesis, but Nemesis or, this is Ranger Green with multicam black. If you want to do that, this one I made for me, or Ranger Green, Coyote Brown, again, we'll do the customized work on our side, the standard colors on his side, plus all the accoutrements, right? And that's kind of where I want to segue here in the end. Because, I kind of said at the beginning, a lot of people like, yeah, what medical, whatever. Man, I'm here to tell you, and talking out loud. So look, I have a lot of advanced medical training. Like, I even have a civilian EMT certification. That was a long time ago, but then I've got a lot of more combat trauma, combat medicine type of training, both from the military and from the agency. But I'm not going to sit here and try to talk to you like I'm the medical expert, because you guys just think I just run a business. I'm going to get somebody on with those with even better credentials. And what I want to do is I want to talk through, well, what should you, because not everybody knows what you should have in a med kit. And in my opinion, there's no cookie cutter on what you should have in a med kit. And I'll hopefully remember that, because that's where I want to circle back to at the end. But just to show you a couple things about the med kit. And I'm really happy that I'm making myself one in Nemesis, because that's going to be my new hunting rig. Then my other hunting rig is Ranger Green and multicam black. I'll probably keep this one. And then this guy will end up going in my vehicle, right? So because you can never have enough medical kits, and every medical situation is different. So that's another reminder. It's what I want to come back to here at the end. Where are we doing on time? Where's my time? It's 9 minutes. See this? I know I'm rambling, but just a real quick thing. What I really like about this pouch, when Jack reached out to me, is, again, as I said, I designed it on how I wanted my pouch to be when I was overseas. Jack, Jack and I worked through a bunch of that stuff. And the really cool thing is, and hopefully this multicam black shows up nice. So, it's all designed on limited visibility and gross motor skills. There's the big red thing. You see it, you pull up, and then see how you can see it right there. It's just below my hands is this red tab. And then as you grab that tab, and it's oversized. So even with gloves, or if it was rainy, cold, wet and muddy, snowy, all that stuff, you can grab that. And I'm just going to do it a little bit. But as you see, as you pull that, it pulls the contents out, and it spills the contents into your hand or right on the ground next to you where you're kneeling, where you're doing first aid. It's got all kinds of little attachment, or not attachment, but it's a big pocket with attachment things here in the front. Here's, some medical stuff, gloves, tape. I know I got a tampon in one of the other ones, but gauze, shears on one side, TQ on the other side. It's nice and compact, glove box, rig it on the back of the seat rest of the passenger side or the driver's side, passenger side, because then you could just reach over like this and get it. But, or driver's side, on your person if you're out in the woods, in another bag, stored that way. Here's kind of the same thing, Velcro across the front so you can do some medical things on there if you want. This one is set up a little differently. And then that's where my transition is going to be. So you can see they're both set up a little bit differently because there isn't, I guess maybe there are issues in the medical field that overlap. So let me try to talk this through and see if that comes out in my conversation here. So, when you're doing direct action or military stuff, the wounds that you're going to suffer, the types of injuries that you're going to see, can be unique to that type of event. There can be a lot of the similar wounds, crushing wounds can still happen. Flail chest that can happen. That's a car injury. It can happen in a military vehicle or a helicopter crash, compound fracture. So fractures in general, but generally speaking, like a sucking chest wound, a gunshot wound, a total, I guess, everything from totally, having a leg blown off, that's not generally what you're going to see in the civilian world, but I guess there are circumstances where that could come into play. And then, so on the civilian side, maybe you're going to be more concerned about a tourniquet for those types of injuries, on the medical side or on the military side, you're going to be looking at that plus other things, maybe you're carrying morphine. We used to carry morphine, so that's what I'm getting at. What you're putting in here is really important because when, Mother Nature, she's got a really sick sense of humor. If you've got your kit loaded up with GSW gunshot wound stuff, but you're out camping, so just think of it. What are the things that you're most likely going to experience camping? It's going to be a fall of some type where you end up throwing a hip, throwing a knee, maybe breaking your leg, maybe breaking an arm, so you're just going to be looking at immobilization, transport, if you can still walk out, or recovery, and then quite honestly, it's going to be, and there's more, it depends on where you are and how long you're out there, but generally speaking, and then it's going to be or a crushing injury, fingers getting crushed, an arm getting crushed, imagine a rock or a log or, you falling on it or it falling on you. Or it's going to be some type of injury resulting in some type of blade. You got your hatchet out, you're skinning an animal, things like that. You're going to have lacerations. So that medical kit looks very different from your medical kit from your day-to-day where, it's little Jimmy or little Susie has a boo-boo, this type of laceration, this type of burn or a really bad day of, what are they called, those rubs, where you're and you get the Indian rub or whatever it was. I don't even know if kids do that anymore. So, so you got to sit and think about what you're going to put in there. And again, I'm going to bring someone on and we'll break it down into greater detail, but there are definitely medical, pieces of medical equipment and that you should carry because they are general purpose. So, you think about Band-Aids, you think about antiseptic, you think about a suture kit. Maybe you don't need a suture kit. Maybe you don't know how to do it. We'll be working on that too in the future. But, some of the basics. And don't just think basics. If you only have aspirin, for example, right? Well, you really should have a small packet or a vial or something of aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen, and Motrin. They are different classifications. They do slightly different things. They're complementary, but they're kind of different. And you learn your meds. I'm not sitting here telling you how to be a doctor. Maybe you want to think about Imodium. Maybe you want to think about toothpaste and a toothbrush. Maybe you want to think about clove oil. And we'll go into all this stuff because every situation is different. You're operating at altitude. You're going to want drugs for altitude sickness. It's not a cookie cutter. And you have to know, you better than anybody else, hopefully. And you've got to look at your environment, who's coming with you in your environment, how long you're going to be there, the existential or the natural threats or conditions. Again, hypothermia, in this kit, you might want to have a really good thermal safety blanket in here. If not in here, then in your rucksack, and et cetera, and et cetera. Hand warmers, you see where I'm going with this. We'll get into those details later. I just wanted to bring it all the way back full circle, let you know. We'll have the med kit up on the Centerline Systems, the CLS gear website, probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. I'll end up working on it this week. And I am going to get somebody to come on. I got 2 people in mind right now. I'm going to bring them on as a guest. Maybe we'll do that in a CLS After Dark, or we'll do this in a longer. See, I'm already at 15 minutes. And I think this year, I'm not going to kick myself for going a little bit long, because I know I've already forgotten and haven't brought out like 3 or 4 other things I wanted to mention that I think are very important when it comes to medical. Again, I personally don't think you can emphasize medical enough. Yeah, all the cool guy skills are great, but if you don't know how to take care of yourself and fix yourself, or those of your family or your team, because your team is your family and your family is your team. You got to know, somebody has to know how to step up. And if that person goes down, then what happens? Are you all screwed? Everybody needs to know some real basic medical. So here's another one. Gunshot wound, you would think of like a nasal pharyngeal, like a nasal airway. Okay, well, I can think of, other examples on the civilian side where you're going to, because what is most important? I mean, ABCs, I know it's changed a little bit. And the civilian side is different from the combat side, but you have to maintain an airway. So maybe you want to have a nasal pharyngeal in here. They're small. They don't take up a whole lot of room. You got to know what you're doing. And then if you have infants versus adults. So I guess that's my long-winded way of saying, to reiterate, Mother Nature loves jokes. She loves stupid people with stupid jokes. Oh, but look who I voted for. The grizzly bear doesn't care as it's eating you alive. The snake doesn't care after it injected venom into you. The stick that just went through your bicep after you fell down from trying to do your hanging bag with all your food at your campsite, and you cut down a whole bunch of trees around the campsite. Now you just fell down out of the tree, and now it's through your bicep, and you're freaking the F out, and so is everybody else. Mother Nature doesn't give a shit about your politics. You and your family and your team care about fixing you so you can get back in the fight and survive and help them survive. So yeah, we're definitely going to bring somebody on, and we'll have some pretty good medical conversations this year. So stay tuned for that. And then on the outro, because I know I'm going long, but I think I'm going to stop worrying about that as well. I'm still a little worried about it right now. I know the algorithm wants really short videos, but did I mention Nemesis? There you go. I mean, I got to work on the lighting in here too. I know. I got to work on the lighting, but here we go. On the way out. So first off, you know the deal. If you got questions, comments, please start leaving comments, like the video, share the video. We always say it, people who are over here on this side of the camera doing it, but this is how I keep the lights on, and the algorithm is real, and the shadow banning is real, and it isn't getting any better. Contrary to, again, just like Mother Nature, reality doesn't care who you voted for or what you think is going on. Reality is a little bit more about what really is going on. Here we go. So if you got questions, comments, you know the deal. Reach out, leave some comments, give some ideas about other videos you want to see or other contexts. We're going to be doing more. Matter of fact, the medical, depending on who, what the other individual thinks, I'm going to start doing some classes this year too. And maybe we'll do medical as a classes, like a real basic medical, and which it's the internet, and it won't ever be as good as it could be as if we were there doing it hands-on together. But I think that would definitely go into, if we do that this year, we'll find a way to make that happen. But with all that being said, let's start wrapping it up here. Let me take you out with another Steve L joke. I'm going to do 2 jokes. I think I'm going to do an intro and an outro joke. Here's a Steve L joke. Don't hate me, man. These aren't even my jokes, but I think they're funny. They're dad jokes. Did you know that koi, K-O-I, the fish, did you know that koi always travel in packs of 4? So if there is a predator, koi A, B, and C will scatter, and they will leave the decoy. God, they're so bad, they're funny. The decoy. I don't even know where he heard that or came up with that, but thank you, Steve. Thanks for making us all have stupid little chuckles. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Takes a little while to upload it, and I'm going to post this tonight. And and we'll just go from there. Or I'll post it tonight or tomorrow at 17:30, kind of wrapping up the day. We'll see. If you got questions, comments, I already said that, reach out. Let me know what you'd like to see. In other words, let me know what your thoughts are of doing some kind of basic medical, because I am, even if we do it as a class, I don't know, but I'm going to do it as a video and kind of talk through, There is no cookie cutter, though, boys and girls. You know you, and you know your team, your family better than anyone else. You might need, you know your operating environment, what you're going to be doing. Again, just to leave it on this, do you need a GSW, a gunshot wound kit type of med pouch when you're out camping and fishing? The injuries that are you can suspect or anticipate sustaining hunting and fishing. Well, hunting, I mean, there's a gunshot wound right there. So, I mean, that if that's what you're doing, yeah, then maybe you do want a GSW kit in there. You know, and by GSW, there's some specific things, you know, we'll get into it, but like I'm thinking like an Osherman, like it's an Osherman's seal for a sucking chest wound. And there's some other things there too, like, you know, tampons for, you know, fill-in wounds, but gauze does the same thing, and da-da-da. But we'll get into that. But let me know what your thoughts are if you're interested. Until then, you know the deal. Reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. And as always, keep thinking, keep moving, and never freaking quit. All right, boys and girls, thanks for being here. We'll see you again soon. You know the deal.